guys.
Hi.
Okay, so as Vicki told you, I am the daughter of the first and only ever Jewish Miss America, who took being an iconic Jew very seriously. My now husband is of Irish Catholic descent, whose parents felt if you got pregnant out of wedlock, you would burn in hell forever. Kind of like going to my Aunt Sylvia's for dinner every night. So, there I am, madly in love with an Irish Catholic, and 3 months pregnant. To placate both sides, I had to consider naming my child Rivka or Shlumi. And for his side, I had to keep the pregnancy thing secret. And then pray that after the wedding, his parents were bad at math, and when little Rivka or Shmuley arrived 6 months later, they wouldn't put it together. So, we did the wedding invitations very quickly. They weren't embossed. For the all-important dress, I hightailed it over to Rosalita's ready-to-wear wedding gowns. Because my hormones were raging so badly, and I was weeping, Rosalita herself selected the dress. It was in the Empire style, which meant it clung to my already engorged milk-feeding breasts, and then it flared out like a white cardboard teepee, with layers and layers of overlying netting material. Not the satin and taffeta number I had had in mind my whole life, but Rosalita thought I looked splendido in it. If only I'd stopped crying. Unfortunately, no one would marry us. The Jews had a thing that you couldn't marry a non-Jew in a temple, and the church might have married us, but my mother, Queen of the Jews, would have had an embolism. So we finally found a rabbi who was a holdover hippie. He had tie-dyed tzitzis, and he could sing Kumbaya on the guitar. And then we found a priest who probably had been what's it called? Excommunicated. But he still had the dress, you know, the black thing. And he could sing Kumbaya in harmony. So they were a team. And they would marry you anywhere you wanted, including the ferry. But we chose the Harkness House, a very beautiful mansion where the Harkness Ballet Company rehearsed during the week and then rented it out on weekends, even though it smelled of sweaty leotards, no matter how much Febreze you sprayed around. When the big day arrived, I was in the Harkness House bathroom, suffering major existential angst. I was thinking, isn't having children for people like farmers? We need extra hands to help gather eggs and plant hay. I'm a New Yorker. I've been to a farm. And then meanwhile, while I was in the bathroom, all the guests were taking their seats. The Jews to the left, all in black because they were chic. The Irish Catholics to the right, all in turquoise because it was springtime. And black was for funerals or winter. My mother, the first and only ever Jewish Miss America, my mother gave me away. My father was long dead, and she insisted on walking me down the aisle. Actually, not walking me, parading me. Actually, not me, herself. Because my mother, who was not 3 months pregnant, looked smashing, and her mafia boyfriend was in the audience. He had just given her a huge sapphire ring to prove that he loved her more than his wife. He was sitting next to him. my mother felt that the whole experience made her affair more exciting, and she wasn't really thinking about me. Just when I thought I'd collapse under the pressure, I espied my soon-to-be husband waiting for me at the end of the aisle. He was looking at me as though I were the answer to every question, every riddle proposed to mankind since the Neanderthals stood upright. That look gave me the temerity to keep going, and once I arrived at his side, the world as I knew it slipped away, and it was just us. And I wish I could remember the rest, but reality wasn't operating. All I know is rings were exchanged, the priest and the rabbi hugged, the Irish wept, the Jews fixed their hair, and the deed was done. The wedding party, which I thought would be a breeze, was at a very beautiful Midtown restaurant, gorgeous place, old-fashioned mahogany bars, and a huge buffet table overflowing with chafing dishes, vast amounts of hams, turkeys, racks of lamb, the doors open. The Irish made a beeline for the bar, the Jews for the food. And there the Jews are at the buffet table. I personally have never seen vultures descend on a dead goat. But you could almost hear the enormous wings flapping as the Jews zeroed in on their prey. They each grabbed 4 or 5 plates, not trusting revisiting later, because who knew if the 5 turkeys, 6 hams, 10 pounds of pasta would still be there. After several go-arounds, they retreated to their booths and dug in. When the Irish finally unglued themselves from the bar, they arrived at the buffet table and were, needless to say, confused. They were sure they had seen food. But because they have been toasting all the saints, relatives of Donegal, Flatbush, Dublin, they never saw the entire dining experience disappear. In the end, they were reduced to bread baskets, scarfing down huge amounts of bread with inch-thick slabs of butter. The band began to play. We had Havanagila, we had jigs, and just when I thought it might be time to leave, since I couldn't drink or do drugs, which was very upsetting to me, my mother's boyfriend asked me to dance. I couldn't say no, because even though my mother thought the Gambinos had some love for art, I knew better than to say no to a man whose best friend's name was Manny the Fish. Having had an entire bottle of Sambuca to go with his Italianite roots, he pulled me onto the dance floor, twirled and swirled me until he finally keeled over, the heel of his patent leather shoe catching in Rosalita's Splendido wedding dress and tearing the entire layer of thick overlying polyester netting material with it. There was nothing now concealing my protruding belly but a thin polyester slip. I was appalled. But the Irish Catholics, for whose sake we were having this thing in the first place, didn't seem to matter. They were toasting all the relatives again, because now that I was married, I hadn't sinned. I didn't understand anything or anyone at this point,